Hey everyone, Mirai here, and welcome to another multiboxing video. In this one, I'm going to talk about the Death Knight starting area from a multiboxing standpoint. I've leveled countless teams of Death Knights throughout the years, but recently I leveled another and thought that I might have some tips to give others. Now, before anyone says anything, I get it, right? This place is over 7 years old at this point, but there are always new multiboxers out there who are looking for tips on how to do things. Of course, to some players, some of these tips might seem like no-brainers, but hopefully someone finds this stuff useful. Now, for the most part, a lot of this is just basic questing, get this, kill that, go over here and talk to this guy, etc., etc. And some of these are a little monotonous, but they can usually be sped up. For starters, the quest called Death Comes From On High, where the Lich King will tell you to analyze the Scarlet Fortifications using the Eye of Acarus. Interacting with the eye's control mechanism will put you into what is considered a vehicle, where you're given a new set of abilities specific to the vehicle or creature or thing that you're controlling. Now, I think a common mistake that can be made here is that all of your characters will need to go through the motions in order to complete this quest, when this isn't the case at all. Not only is the credit received party-wide, but you can also leave all of your alts right where they land, and only use one character's eye to siphon the information from each location. That makes this particular quest very quick and very easy. I'll also point out that depending on the action bars that you are using, you may not have the correct possession bar loaded to show all of the eye's abilities. This makes it difficult to go back to Acarus after the information has been gathered, but when you're finished with this quest, you can just turn on mouse repeater and hit the escape key on your keyboard to return back to the platform where the control mechanism is located. So after you turn in this quest, the Lich King will tell you to go to the lower level to speak with Darian Mograine. But in order to get there, you need to use the teleporter. Now, there's no quest associated with the teleporter, but this is really just a heads up on the fact that this thing may end up continuously pissing you off because sometimes only your lead character makes it through and everyone else is left behind. And other times 4 characters make it through and the 5th one is left behind. And this is something that you likely won't notice right away because those that don't make it through are still close enough to follow. So their screens continue to move as if they're on the same level as you and everything is just fine, but you don't actually realize that you left them behind. So if you're having trouble with the teleporter, just bunch your characters up, turn on broadcasting, and walk forward into the teleporter all at once. This solves the problem with latency and follow distance causing issues with getting the entire team into the teleporter correctly. So anyway, we'll fast forward to the point where you're finally outside and on the ground. You'll be given a quest called Death's Challenge, where you're told to duel other Death Knight initiates. Now, like most, this is a very straightforward quest. But I just want to point out that you should initiate the duel on just one of your Death Knights, because if you initiate it with all of your Death Knights, then it can cause the duel countdown to not begin. Some people get into the habit of starting and turning in and initiating quests with all of their characters at once using mouse broadcasting, where in this case, that might cause things to be weird. I'll also point out that you can start the duels with multiple initiates at the same time using multiple Death Knights, and this speeds up the process a little since the credit for this particular quest is party-wide. Now, when you finally make your way out into the fields in the south, you're going to have a quest called Tonight We Dine in Havenshire, where you're going to be retrieving arrows. The reason I'm even talking about this quest is because there are multiboxers who despise collection quests, and while I don't blame them, I just want to point out that this particular quest, this collection quest, isn't really that big of a deal. These days, along the high traffic areas, arrows can actually stack up to 3 times and possibly more in a single spot. So retrieving 15 of them on each character isn't all that time consuming. And because there are so many of these out there, it's easy to just make a big circle around the area so that by the time you make it back to where you started, there are more to pick up, or maybe you'll already be done by then. There weren't really any other players out there with me while recording this, but even if this place was a bit more populated, there are still more than enough arrows lying around. And on 5 Death Knights, it took me about 7 minutes to complete, and I was by no means rushing. Another quest you'll have in your log at this point is Grand Theft Palomino, where you're supposed to steal a horse and bring it back to Salinar at Death's Breach. Now, there's nothing tricky about this particular quest because you can find horses all throughout this area. But I just want to point out that when playing solo, I think people generally shy away from the enclosed pasture area here because there is an elite patrol. And when you're solo, this guy can potentially kill you. He can be kind of tough. However, if you're multiboxing, there's no issue with just killing him. So if you're competing with others in the surrounding area for horses or something like that, then just go to the enclosed pasture and take over. But try not to AoE down all of the horses in the process. The next quest on my list is The Gift That Keeps On Giving, where Gothic the Harvester wants you to convert 5 Scarlet Miners into 5 Scarlet Ghouls. This quest requires that you throw a device on the ground which has a chance to turn a miner into either a friendly ghoul or a hostile ghost. And in order to speed this quest up a bit, I'll suggest that you cycle through your Death Knights so that you can get more of these devices on the ground since they do have a 6-second cooldown. I'll also mention that while this quest requires that you convert 5 miners into ghouls, Gothic doesn't care how many each character has, and as long as you have a combined total of 5 across all of your party members, he'll take it. Upon turning in this quest, Gothic will send you back to Prince Valinar, who sends you on the quest Massacre at Light's Point, in which you'll be sneaking behind enemy lines in a minecart and using the Scarlet Crusade's own weaponry to slaughter them. Now, there are 2 different ships on the beach which are equipped with cannons, and on the trip down there, the Scarlet Miner will either take a left or a right, and there's a very good chance that your team will be split up. Usually, my team ends up with 3 on one side and 2 on another, and that's actually what I prefer. However, it doesn't always work out like that, so here's what you can do. If each of your team members don't have a cannon because you either weren't split up properly or because there are other people out there at the same time occupying the cannons, then you can either wait for the cannons to become available or carefully move over to the other ship to use its cannons, or let those who don't have a cannon just sit there idle while the others blow things up. And when the quest is complete, use the Skeletal Griffin escape button on those who are currently in the cannon, then move those who are idle into the now empty cannons, and use the escape button on them as well. Credit for the quest is rewarded party-wide, so there should be no reason why those standing idle don't get credit for not actually being in a cannon. Alright, so fast forward through a few quests, and we come to how to win friends and influence enemies. Now, if there's a list of annoying quests that are currently in the game, I'd say that this quest is definitely in the top 10. The deal with this quest is that you're supposed to persuade the enemy into revealing secrets about the Crimson Dawn. And on the surface, it seems no different than any other quest. However, there are a few things to know about this one. First, you're going to be auto-attacking with these new weapons because if you use any abilities, you kill the enemy before they can reveal any secrets. This is true whether you're multiboxing or not. Second, and this is the biggest problem with this quest, credit is not rewarded party-wide. So regardless that your entire party were standing right next to the enemy unit as they revealed the secret through audible speech, your party does not get any credit. So each party member will need to persuade their very own unit into revealing the secret of the Crimson Dawn. And because the Death Knight, which gets the persuading hit, is the one that gets the credit, this means that the best course of action is just to attack on one Death Knight at any given time. Now, what I do to speed this quest up is to split up my team and have them each find an enemy unit to auto-attack, hoping that it's going to be the one that will reveal the secret. And while they're doing that, I just switch to the next character to seek out another member of the Scarlet Crusade to beat on. I'm also going to mention that this quest may take quite some time to complete, and obviously the more Death Knights in your team, the longer this is going to take. While recording, this quest only took me about 8 minutes to complete on all of my characters, but not only did I get extremely lucky with my first 2 persuasions happening within the first 60 seconds, I've also been through this starting area quite a bit, so I have this routine down pretty well at this point. If you're unlucky during this quest, then you can expect to be out here for upwards of 15 minutes or more, depending on just how unlucky you are, as well as how many other players are out here in this area doing the same quest. But it still kills me that the credit for this particular quest is not rewarded party-wide. I just don't understand it. So everything after this quest is pretty straightforward, and the credit is rewarded party-wide, But the final quest I'm going to talk about is called An End to All Things, which is a very suitable name. Now in this quest you're mounted on a frostworm, which means we're back in a vehicle with a special set of abilities. Fortunately, this quest is very similar to the quest where you control the Eye of Acarus, in which you can park your alt somewhere safe and just do the quest on one character because credit is, once again, rewarded party-wide. Now I'll recommend that you find a safe point which is somewhere in the middle of the area that you'll be and is fairly close to the ground, but not too close to where you're in range of a ballista. If you're too far up in the sky, you might not get credit for certain kills. And if you're too close to the ground, then your team is going to get killed by a ballista as they sit idle. So make sure the spot that you choose is safe. Other than that, there's nothing special about this quest. So that's it for the Death Knight starting area as a multi-boxer. I guess if I have just one final tip, it's for the final battle at Light's Hope Chapel. As a multi-boxer, you pack quite a punch in this scenario, and if you're in a hurry to get through this, then I would suggest focusing all of your attacks on the uniquely named enemy units, because the faster that they fall, the faster you can progress through this. Well, hopefully someone finds this small bit of information useful on their journey as a multi-boxer, veteran or not. And as always, if you've got any further questions, comments, or concerns, you can either leave a comment below or visit the ISBoxer or Dual-Boxing site forums. Thanks for watching, guys. Mirai out.